I have had to. I broke my back shock tower doing racing, so I put an RPM one on, which worked perfectly. So I like RPM parts when I can. If I have to switch stuff out, that's what I use. I did change out my drive shaft here. The other ones were fine. They were still working okay. They were just the stock ones from the Rustler, but I noticed that they were had a little warp to them, so I was getting some wheel wobble because of it. So actually, I think his name is Mr. MRT Mustang, had a video where he mentioned that he was using the Slash 4x4 drive shafts. So I went out and got a pair, and they are thicker. They're a little bit bigger. I mean, it's hard to tell. They look almost exactly alike, but, right there where, I don't know if this is the yoke. I don't know what that's called, but where this meets up, let me back up so you can see here a little bit. This part right here is thicker. It's just a little bit of a beefier drivetrain, and they've been working absolutely great. So, I haven't done too much else to it. I have added a couple of things. I mean, the rear A-arms, front A-arms are still the same. These are ST Racing Concepts, is the company that I got these from. I love them. I don't race this on a dirt track, so like I said, keeping weight low and nice and even. And basically, you want it low at both ends, and you want to kind of keep it distributed as best you can through the guts of the car. Obviously with this battery stacked here, you have a lot of weight. It gets a little high, the center of gravity, so you want to kind of counteract that a little bit. As far as the way you run your weight, if you can keep it low, spread quasi evenly throughout the car, and without stacking it too high, and that's going to allow you to keep control of your vehicle at high speeds. The way I race on this track, I mean, because I have the luxury of racing on that style track, I mean, you can literally come around the corner, you come out of the fourth corner and onto the straightaway, and I want this car to be able to drive around my buddy at 75, 80 miles an hour and be controllable. I have it set up to where I can race with it at that speed. I don't just go straight up and down. Obviously that gets old pretty quick. It's cool, getting high speeds and drag racing and stuff like that. But I can't tell you how much fun it is to come out of the fourth corner and drive around your buddy at 75 miles an hour and, just smoke him. Your heart skips a beat, adrenaline dumps out your ears, and it's just a really cool feeling. But in order to do that, you have to really get your weighting down properly. Right now, I've still got it kind of weighted as when I run the 2400 kV motor. Still have the washers up here. It's attached to my stock front shock tower. I'm not real worried about it breaking or bending. I mean, it's held up, and I've pretty much destroyed it as far as flipped it a couple of times, and it's still stayed intact, and it's been doing okay. But I do have some wheel balancing weights that I'm probably going to have to stack through here. I was running kind of a different setup, but I think I'm going to try those. And that's just because I'm running a 1/8 size motor. This motor is made for a much larger vehicle. And obviously with a much larger vehicle, you have a much heavier vehicle. And that is, part of the bubble that you're going to run into, or the wall, when you're trying to hit those top speeds, is you have to weight your car properly. If you want it drivable at those speeds, you kind of need to take some time and play with it. If you're looking for just a straight, run down the track as fast as you can, straight ahead, it's pretty simple. You just stack the weight on and just go. And if it feels like you got a little too much, you can take it off. It's actually better to put less on it first, because it's harder to take those things off, especially if you're gluing them down or taping them down with adhesive. But I had a question about whether or not the 2400 kV motor is faster than this motor on 6S. And I had responded with no, pretty much, because that's just the easiest answer for it. But it's not really true. If you're able to find those tricks to get your downforce without piling a ton of weight on, and it is possible, and you run a 1-to-1 gear ratio, which is a 34 and a 34 here, for your pinion and spur, if you can keep your weight down and still find ways to get that downforce on the car, you will be able to run as fast as this vehicle. Now, granted, it's going to be a little bit different performance-wise because there's more torque involved, and you know, it's obviously a different motor. But if you're looking for a real easy application, just to slam a motor in and basically just toss weight into it, then the 2200 kV motor is kind of where it's at. But so that's about it, I guess. I did lower it. The way I lowered it, obviously, is with the fuel line method. It's actually inside the shocks here. I actually put on some aluminum front shocks because during my last epic fail, I destroyed the front shocks. But basically, you slice it to whatever length you want, the tube. You're going to unscrew this, attachment. Sorry, my finger's in the way. That's right there. You're going to pull your cap off, pump the oil out, take out the piston, slide on the fuel line. The piston slides. It's hard to do it. I've got one hand here. Basically, you just slide the fuel line up into the plunger, so that the plunger sits on top up here, and the fuel line is beneath it. And then the compression of the spring is going to keep it locked in there, and it's going to lower it. Go Stealth R1, I think, is the guy, so I'll do that. So I guess I should say, thank you to those guys. These guys have been doing this. This was years ago, so it's probably old news for a lot of people. But, for new guys out there, if you haven't seen those videos, it's an easy way to do it. I say easy, it's simple to get it done, but really to try and get it level, you're going to have a different size fuel line segment in the back than you would on the front. So you kind of have to play with it. You want to go big at first because it's easier to chop it off than it is just to waste more line by having it too small and then having to add bigger ones in there. As far as the ride height, that's just up to you. I don't keep it too low, but I want it low enough to where air is not just getting sucked up underneath there, because there are lots, not lots, but you will occasionally on this racetrack, because they do race cars there, you'll catch bits of rubber and the occasional rock, and I don't want that, getting slammed up underneath the car if I can help it. So, yeah, that's about it. Like I said, I got these max amp batteries. If anybody hasn't had a max amp battery or is thinking about getting one, if you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up, or two, or however many you can afford. But in all honesty, the price of these two batteries together costs as much as this whole car did when I bought it out of the box. So that's kind of what you're talking about with the pricing. But that being said, as far as performance and the amount of drive time you get out of the batteries, is really, it's better than anything I've tried. Now, granted, for the cost and the performance, there might be other things out there that are better, but if you can afford it, these are the best. Not only that, but their customer service is just out of this world. They are extremely nice. They send you a handwritten card. I've ordered these things without any kind of special shipping, and I think it's getting shipped from Washington, and I'm down in South Texas. And 2 or 3 days later, they show up. So, I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something right. You get a card with everybody's initials who check the battery, and if you need to ask them a question, they're there pretty much immediately, and super nice. So, yeah, that's a little bit about the batteries, but I'm a big fan of them. They're expensive, and I hate spending that much money, but once I finally get them in there, they make all the difference in the world. So, yeah, that's about it. I guess I did put a gyro in as well. It's hard to tell because my battery's running down again because I've been talking too damn long. But it's back there, right there in the back. This is it. And it helps as far as, like I said, if you're getting that kind of shimmering down the track, it's definitely going to keep you in line. But yeah, you don't need a gyro, but I did it just because it was there. It wasn't too expensive. I had the means to get a hold of it, so I did so. And yeah, that's about it, man. I guess if you have any questions, go ahead and leave me a comment, and I'll see if I can help you. And if not, we'll work something out.